Hello, and welcome to the hacks for the diamond level for management simulation. And this is for frontline managers and managers in transition. So, first, for anybody who is going through this particular game, which is the diamond level, this is perhaps going to be one of the toughest that you have ever found. So, there's a reason why. And I'm very confident that you understand to complete all these processes, or at least to start the diamond level, you have to complete the platinum processes too. Now, first thing is, if you are here, you must have really done some really good management because now you have already gone through the entire process for platinum. You've got the customer, you've got a verbal agreement. So now your job is to complete the process by getting the business, executing it, and then delivering it. And you cannot do any part of it. You'll always have to delegate that work to your team. So there are a couple of things which are extremely important, as we have highlighted in the last um, couple of games, which is if you don't do the basics right, the rest of the processes will be quite difficult. Each and everything builds on top of each other. So let's quickly take a look at the diamond steps, and I suggest that you also look at how employees want their managers to be to become a really good people manager. We have recorded an audio by having three people speak um, about what they expect from managers, and that would give you a very good insight how to delegate, how to manage, and how to supervise or lead employees and teams. Okay, let's go. So, the second step is that you need to draw up a contract with the customer. It is very, very essential. Now, why is that? When you're doing work with a customer, there has to be a statement of work or a statement of purpose. There has to be crystal clear deliverables that needs to be written down. The amount needs to be written down. What you need to deliver needs to be written down, which means if you go to the previous game, which was Platinum, we told you to gather the requirements extremely meticulously, which means if you do not know, what the customer is looking for and what you can deliver, I can only tell you that there is no way you can create a happy customer. So, which is the reason we say when you drop the contract with the customer, put everything and draw up the contract to be signed by both organizations or both people. Third piece is to set the correct expectation. Now, when you set the correct expectation, what I mean to say is the expectation needs to be set between the customer and also internally with the team. With the customer, you have to talk about the deliverables, the time, and how you want to deliver and the value add. On the other hand, you have to understand that you have a team and you have to ensure that the team is up to speed as well, which is the reason you're at step number 3, which is set the correct expectation. Once that is done, you have to plan and strategize the execution of the deliverables, which means identify people, identify resources, identify strengths in your team, identify what needs to be delivered. And as you plan and strategize, put goals based on timeline for your employees, saying, A, can you get this done? B, can you get this done? C, can you get this done? And this is the date. A will complete this in 2 hours. B will start working on this after A has completed. So it has a little bit of a project management scope, but this is extremely, extremely important because this is where you create the roadmap. You have to invest time to clear this plan with your employees. The more you're clear, more your employees or team members are clear. Next, we move into the delegation of the plan, which means when you execute, you have to ensure that everybody is clear, duties have been delegated, and everybody is performing. which results in you being the supervisor. You don't have to spend a lot of time. You can delegate the responsibility sometimes to your assistant, but what matters is you are the manager. You are the person responsible for everything. If you fail, the rest of the process actually fails, which means you have to do everything right. You have to control or influence as much as possible. Once you have executed well and you are satisfied, you need to work with the customer, ensure you communicate the value of the deliverables, create that value, get a written handoff from the customer and say, are we good? Customer says, yes, you're good, and we are good to go. So let's go through this again so that we are 100% clear. Step number 1 is that you complete the platinum cycle. It is very important that you do so. Drawing the contract, which is step number 2, is negotiating contracts, is extremely vital. You have to be very clear of the deliverables and agree and get others to agree as well, which means a contract, a simple one, needs to be written with a statement of work or statement of purpose of the problem, what you're doing, etc., etc., and people need to sign off. It doesn't have to be a paper, it can be just an email, it's all up to you. The third step is to set the correct expectation. So, as we say, success is always in the contract. That is, it is an art that you need to learn, which is step number 3. That means if you are not clear within yourself, if you're not clear with the customer, if you're not clear in bringing the idea of what needs to be delivered to the team, they will not be able to execute it. The more you're clear, more they are going to be clear. So you have to ensure clarity at every step. So that was step number 3. The step number 4 is to set the expectations with the team and strategize the execution plan. Now that is step number 4, which is you set the correct expectations between both sides. You now set the expectation with your team by identifying strengths inside the team and plan the strategy. Now when you say plan, you might say, okay, I've done my planning, but remember, if you do not attach time or dates to it, it will not work. You have to be very clear on, who, what, where, when, as much as possible. Put the direction, put the detail, put the clarity by putting in dates. Okay, we good? That was step number 4. Now we go to step number 5, which is the delegation piece. When you delegate, ensure you delegate based on strengths and experience. Why is that? That is extremely critical because during the delegation phase, if you do not give the right people the right job, it's not going to work. It's going to slow down the process. Now, to do that, you naturally have to know your team members extremely well. If you don't know the team members and do not have a personal connection with them, they're not going to work with you really well. So you see, everything is so connected. And that is exactly the reason we want you to understand that all the steps are very well interconnected. Now, when you delegate, the rest of the stuff is all supervision, but when you manage the execution process, do not be hands-off. We have observed people who just leave it on their virtual admin, so the virtual admin does all the work. I can tell you, it doesn't work all the time. What if the virtual admin makes a mistake? And he or she can, or they might even. But then your head is on the guillotine to deliver. That's exactly what a manager is, that you manage strategy to execution to everything. You are the main person, the glue, who basically is responsible for everything. Now, after you have done the delivery and all that, you have to flawlessly communicate with the customer, which means get a time with the customer, ensure that the customer signs off saying, yes, this is the data he's looking for, and we are good to go. That is the handoff that is needed, remember, it needs to be a written handoff. With a verbal handoff, things don't work. My suggestion would be get a written recommendation from the customer. It's going to help you either on your resume or as a network or a LinkedIn recommendation, doesn't matter. But it will matter to you in some way, shape, or form. So, guys, we have reached the end of this. So, I need to quickly articulate why our results are different. The old model of training is all about a monologue, which is somebody just talks to you and that's it. Now, with the new generation, it is all about experiencing, which means you take the knowledge and you apply and experience how things are working. As you apply, you experience and you reflect, and the cycle continues. This is a very impactful game because, first of all, it builds skills and experience for you. It also builds skills and experience for your team. You are basically being a manager without really even taking a role, which means you are getting the opportunity to become a manager and experience it so you can be deployed very quickly. It's like having an on demand agile manager model. Last piece, this is very meaningful. You have responsibility, which means you running the simulation actually creates jobs, income, skills for people with disabilities and people in your team. It helps you, it also helps them. Perfect karma. So, which means it is your responsibility to help others succeed. So, to conclude, guys, I have to tell you be different, do things differently, strategize, plan. This is a very serious game, and the diamond level is never going to be easy. Trust me. So, thank you very much for listening to this. Have a nice day.